everyone, welcome back to On The Record. I'm Nthabiseng Mosieane, and today I think is a really special day. I am extra excited because I have Zolisa Xaluva. Not only is he an exceptional actor, but he's such a great human being in real life. But Zolisa Xaluva, welcome, and how are you?
Thank you so much for that warm welcome.
So let's get into BloodPsalms and talk about episode 8. A very heavy episode 8. So please don't mind my questions, ne? I think I put them together because just of the tone of everything and what everything has happened and transpired. So let's just take it back to the basics, right? And so my previous guest was your co-star, Mzansi, who plays Commander Likoya. And we were just discussing how important and how honorable being an Akachi soldier is. What is your view of being an Akachi soldier?
Oh man, the Akachis are the leaders of the kingdom, you know. They lay down the laws for everybody, really, you know. All the other tribes kind of follow what is set on the platform by the Akachis. They form a very important part of that particular world, and without a doubt, the soldiers are a significant part of that. They're a very powerful component of that leadership, you know. Being an Akachi soldier is a thing of honor, you know. You can tell by the way they uniform themselves when they walk, how they chant with pride, you know, how every man is held accountable for his actions, and how affected in the beginning, how Toka is affected in the beginning when he loses Nyatenga in Pangul, you know.
Yes.
It's a big moment for him because at the end of the day, every man counts, you know. So they're a significant part of that kingdom and that world. And being honorable is at the center of it all.
Excellent. And you know, you are the single most important member in the Akachi soldiers. You're a general. And it sounds like that's really high prominence. So how did you rise to the ranks to be where you are as the general of the soldiers?
As you know, the Khuluas are the nomads of the kingdom. They're always moving around and setting up camp. They are of a Nguni kind of dispensation. And they're just simple people, you know, who are very valiant fighters. But they're not very technologically in touch. You know, the Akachis are a world ahead of them in terms of technology and just understanding the world moving forward.
Yes.
So he finds himself in a position in a tribe where he's like, hey man, I think I'm made for something bigger than just this, you know? I want excellence, you know, I want to be part of something great. I want to be part of taking this nation and this kingdom forward with rules and with laws and having that power to decide, to be at the helm, to be at the top of things. So he's an ambitious guy, you know, who comes from a tribe that limits him and his intelligence and his abilities, you know. So we don't know how he becomes joins the army, because when we pick him up, he's already a commander of the army, you know.
Yes.
But given his Khulua background, you can see with Shengu, you know, he's a very physical guy. He's a guy who knows how to handle himself in battle. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So as a soldier, I think maybe he may have impressed the ancient monarch, you know, and maybe the previous general, and thought, okay, there's something in this guy that we see. In as much as he's a Khulua, there are leadership qualities and there are great skills that he comes with that can value to the Akachi tribe. So he starts off as a young soldier, I imagine, you know, having left the ranks with Clemantu and them at the Khulua camp. And he immerses himself into this world and he becomes completely a part of it. And because he's so talented and he's so ambitious, he rises up the ranks over time. We know how he becomes, we don't know how he becomes a commander, but we know how he becomes the general.
Yes.
It's during the great battle during the war, when they come to, when he sees Leta kill his own father. And then in that moment, there's a powerful moment for Toka, because he has witnessed this thing. And now this means that he's got Leta in his pocket, kind of, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because he holds that very, very, very big secret. So he rises in the ranks, up the ranks, unscrupulously here and there, but I mean, he's a man who would stop at nothing to get what he wants.
That is what Usitendra said about you. But we will talk about Usitendra.
Yeah, let's go, sure.
Yes, let's move on to her. So, talking about Usitendra, you and her had a relationship. It seemed like it was open, and you shared a child with her, right? So, what was that relationship like for the general? I don't know if a general is the most warmest person, but you can describe how that relationship was for the both of you.
Oh, for sure. In my opinion, and I don't know if it's scripted anywhere, I think as actors we make our own conclusions about who the characters we play are. And when you work with Jamil, you have that platform and that opportunity to do that. So certainly in my mind as the actor, I viewed Usitendra to be Vukazo. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yes, in the very beginning, I feel like in Oscar's yard. You know what I mean? She's of Trini heritage, but not the Trinis that live, that are cave dwellers, you know? I think as time goes on and as the episodes go on, people will realize that Amatrini are not just limited to the people that live underground. And there's a reason those people ended up there, and that explanation will come later.
Okay.
So she's of Trini heritage together with Gehazazi, and they end up being sort of servants of the Akachi tribe, of the house of Akachi, you know what I mean? And then they give birth to this beautiful child called Buruti. And the servants, they're not very affectionate. There's no time for them, especially in the beginning with all the drama that's happening as well, with Ndiazari and the calling and all these prophecies that are coming out. There's no time to see romance between the two of them.
Okay.
And the first time you actually see them interact is when she tries to kill the king, and it kind of intercepts. And there's a sense of duty, and going back to the honor that is being attached, he's then commanded by the king to actually eliminate her, because what she has committed is an actual travesty. So in the beginning, you don't see the romance between them, you know, because there's no time to engage with each other at that time, because there's so much going on, you know. But the bond that is Buruti kind of told me that there's something deeper between them than just maybe a fling or sexual interaction, you know?
Yes.
And I mean, as when you see them come back from Zimbabwe, and before they have the sex scene, she's mad at him. There are questions that she has, but there's also a passion between them that you see that is so strong, that irrespective of the fact that they are in a fight at that particular moment, but the passion between them actually consumes them, because they haven't seen each other in a long time. And he does, at the time when he's supposed to kill her, actually let her go and commands her that she must never come back to this place. So there's love there. It's a very different kind of love. It's 11,000 years ago. It's not modern day romance. It's not a lovey-dovey kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's one of those lifelong commitments that you have with somebody, which is what I think marriage has been about and was originally meant to be. So I think they have a deeper relationship than just maybe sex and Buruti. I think the two of them have a very deep connection.
That is such a beautiful explanation, because then we also look back at your situation of being caught between a rock and a hard place, of either killing her or banishing her, which of course you banish her, and then 18 years has passed, and you talk about your encounter, and I can imagine so many years has passed. I'm sure in your head you think this woman must have died in some desert many years ago, and then she comes back looking so beautiful and so royal and so regal with the representative of Great Ziwe Mambwe, that guy.
The senator.
The senator. And yeah. And I can imagine, you know, what your guys' emotions were going through, but you explained it so well. But then now when we look at your relationship with Zazi, which is very controversial, very, very controversial. Knowing what you know, how did the general put himself in that kind of situation?
It's a tough one. It really is. Because when you look at the explanation I gave you about who he is, where he comes from, how he operates.
It's the binary. It's so opposite.
Yeah, you would imagine that he would be able to discern that this is the most horrible decision he can make, you know? But I don't think logic has anything to do with it at this point in his life, because logically he shouldn't, right?
Yeah.
And intellectually he knows he shouldn't.
Yeah.
And in terms of the laws of the republic, or whatever you want to call it, he knows the consequences of those actions. Absolutely. And as a calculating man, it makes no logical sense for him to engage in a sexual relationship with Zazi. I can only describe it as probably love, you know? It's a weird kind of love, and it's an unrequited one. And it's not allowed to happen. It's a love that's just shouldn't happen, and he knows it. But it's that thing about human beings, man. And also, Zazi is a powerful force.
Yeah.
As much as she's a young girl, she's 18 years old. She's the chosen one. She's got all these superpowers. She's got a charm about her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That can be very consuming for a man. It's the only imagination I can have is that all they have is each other. You know. He's got this task of looking after her, and he probably sees her every single day. She sees him every day. Maybe he falls for him, and over time he falls for her back. I think it might have been love, you know, a love that's not allowed to happen, but a love nevertheless, you know. And as human beings, we covet what we see every day, you know. Yeah. And Zazi doesn't have a social life where she can actually meet a young boy who she can maybe fall in love with, and there's no sense, and her father is too busy with his own issues with Asili to actually look after his daughter and make sure that maybe they find a young prince for her and all that kind of. She's a very lonely person,
yeah,
and so is he after finishing his own wife. You know what I mean? So I think it may have been love. I see it in the scene where he comes and breaks up with her. You know, it's not a heartless breakup of, forget this thing ever happened. Yes, forget this thing happened. Let's find a way to lie about what has happened, because my life is in trouble and so is yours.
Yeah.
But the breakup in itself, you can feel there's a real love connection there, you know? So I think at the bottom of it all, it's actually really, really, really love. Love that is an act of abomination, if I may, you know? But love never does. I think. That's my interpretation.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess I did want to understand your interpretation and also just the reasoning behind his actions and his decisions, because he is such an honorable man. But that was something that you made me understand. So now we're moving on to the discovery. What's her name? Best friend Gazazi. Tozama, yes. So Tozama, unfortunately, reveals the secret, and Uzazi is is distraught. And I don't know if you're aware or if you saw it coming, but your demeanor and the way that you were so calm in the morning or the afternoon of the arrest, even when Commander Lugoya also proudly and fiercely, stands up for you. You back everyone down and you walk with your shield, and also with just the understanding that, okay, this is my reality. Was this an acceptance of fate at that moment? Did you know what was coming? What was your thought process at that point?
Yeah, look, he knows the law. He's an enforcer of the law, you know, and he knows the wrath of the king, and he understands the king's state of mind at that particular time, He also has no place to run. And it's a very big citadel, but things and information moves around very quickly. So he would have known what's coming, and he would have known that the jig is up.
Yeah.
And I think in his calmness in that moment, it's not for me as much an understanding of the ceiling of his faith, or his fate rather, but more like hoping that once he sees the king.
Absolutely, yes.
Once he has a proper one-on-one with the king. There's an arrogance there of going, I know this guy, I know what I've done is wrong, I will perhaps try and sit down and have a civil conversation with him, make my apologies, plea with him. And because I hold so many secrets that him and I know about, maybe he's the kind of guy who will understand, you know what I mean? So that's what I imagine would have been his thought process. And also, he's the leader of these men who are now putting him in a position where he has to be inferior to them. Yes. So he has to still come up and and show some form of stature, you know, and say, I'm down, but I'm not out. And also there's no trial yet. He's hoping that there might be a trial. And maybe he might, because he said he can defend himself somehow. So I think that may have been the purpose. And I think Likoya's aggression towards the man in that point, and even cutting a man's hand, is because he knows Toka. The amount of respect he shows Toka in that moment is the kind of thing that Toka is hoping Litsa will do and go, I know this man. You know what I mean? I've been through battle with this man. We've made laws together. We've kept this place afloat. We've kept it together. In my insanity as a king, Utuka has been the one guy who's actually been outside of maybe what's Kamanzi, maybe, you know?
Yes.
He's been an outstanding member of that society and keeping things afloat, you know? And his diplomacy with Jabari when he arrives, you see it. You kind of feel like he does have a kingly kind of presence about him. So yeah, I think he was hoping that this is not it. There still has to be a conversation to be had. There's an explanation to be given. And maybe there's some apologizing to do, and maybe stripping off his rank, and maybe just being a normal soldier again. But he's hoping that it doesn't have to end the way that he knows it ought to be. So I think that's what's happening in his head at that moment.
You are so eloquent. I am listening so deep. Like...
I know the story. I read that time and again. So yeah.
You know it front to back. It's actually incredible. And everything that you've just explained is exactly, as a viewer watching, is exactly what I was hoping for. Of course he's going to stand trial. Of course he's going to plead his story. Of course, you know, they are going to listen to him. King Licha especially is going to listen to him. And the way it moved so fast from where you were at to where you're at now, I was like, wait, did we miss something? It's very interesting. When did all of this happen? Is there a point or a part in your head where you feel slighted or feel angry that no one spoke on your behalf, or no one tried to fight to say, guys, let's listen? I mean, this guy has done a lot for us. Let's just hear him out at least.
Maybe somewhere in his mind and in his heart that exists, but there's a little tinge of a smile that he gives to Likoya as he walks past him when they head out.
Yeah.
I think that's the moment you're asking about, where it doesn't matter if everybody else doesn't stand up for him, but his second in command believes in him in that moment. So he does have that moment of somebody trying to stand up for him. But he goes, come on, okay. It's really okay. It's like that Jesus kind of moment, type of thing, you know? For me, it was that kind of a moment. And I mean, the guys did try and have a riot. It didn't quite go far.
Okay.
When Mbuya was addressing the men, the powers that be, Fega Tokamans, when they discovered that there's power in this man, and is able to gain access to the people. And then with their own deviousness, try and bring him out and feed him a snake. And then he starts flipping on everybody. But I mean, there is a moment where Tuka feels like, at least somebody's with him. You know what I mean? Because Likoya tries to a point where he cuts off another soldier's hand, you know? And it's Tuka who goes, it's okay, I'll figure this out. You see, there's a kind of arrogance about Tuka in that he believes he can get out of it somehow.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
He'll have to win his way. He's worked his way to get to this point. There's no way he's going to let himself go down like that. At least he's hoping. I think the letdown is that the king never actually gave him a chance to explain himself. But then the king is also dealing with his own stuff. He's irrational at that point in his life as well. So, I mean, we got to forgive Litsa. He hasn't been himself in a long time, Chef.
You're so nice. Yeah, no, with the king. Sure, I shame. Okay. But you know, with the king losing it, that's also like, it's so insane. You know what I found fascinating, I found amazing, was Commander Likoya's part when he shares his final words to you, right before you are put in the casket. And then he's got, and even right through to the end actually, he's got so many teary moments. It's almost like he's fighting within himself. And it reminds me of the sunken place in Get Out, where there's a fight within him.
There's an inner struggle, yeah.
There's an inner struggle. How do you feel about that moment where he's speaking to you and everyone is watching you? And really, I think you were really brought to like such vulnerability as the general. I just want to know what your thought process was during that period.
To be honest, I, as the actor in the moment, I didn't see anyone around me. Nikoya is talking. Gamanzu is standing there, Asili, Veneto, you know? And the people are booing and all of that. There's all of this going on around him. The casket is right there. So in his mind, it's like, there's no chance of justice or a trial. Yeah, you know? It's over. In as much as Tumomchal is delivering a wonderful monologue, I couldn't hear him because I was in Toka's head, you know? The thing about it is that as human beings, I think we all know that at some point we're gonna die, right? Everybody knows.
Yeah.
It could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be 20 years from now, you know? We all have that date, but nobody knows the date, you know?
Yeah.
There's a significant thing that I imagine would happen in a man's head or in a person's head when they know that at 3 o'clock this afternoon I'm gonna die and this is how it's gonna happen. You know what I mean? So I was in the what if moment in my own. I couldn't hear him. It's almost like it's like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm seeing things happening around me. I mean, I was in that scene before the scene even started, and I was still emotional long after we had wrapped the scene.
Yes.
Like it took me 20 minutes after wrap to just really come back to me. Like I was really in my own zone. And what was happening is in my head, because I asked myself, what if, you know? What if you were this person, and what if you were in this situation? What if you felt the way you should feel about this? And him being emotional in that moment, having been this, come across as this very strong, macho, you know, kind of guy, to resorting to being this vulnerable man in his fetal position, in a position where people are spitting at him and throwing things and that. I felt the pain, that character. That's what happened in that moment. I can't say that I heard this to him. I watched him now and I'm like, oh, that's what you were saying. But in the moment, to be honest with you, I didn't hear anything. I was just in the understanding of the end of a man's life.
You know, and there's only so much experience we can feel watching versus the experience you had in it, you know? And
in it. And I'm naked. I'm butt naked in front of 200 people.
Yes.
Already, and that's me as the actor, you know? I'm literally, I've laid myself there, you know? Like I'm out there, like there's no place to hide kind of thing, you know what I mean? And I felt the emotions of all of that, the physicality and the presence of people around me saying all the things that they were saying, and just the feeling of this is the end of it. I was really a man going to the gallows, and I felt that.
You know, and that's what I was thinking about. I was like, whew, I could feel the energy. It's almost like it was transferable. And, you know, and I'm only just a viewer, and I was like, I don't know. And, you know, just maybe if we just took it to the side a little, how did you come back to yourself? Because there were so many elements. You were beaten, you were put into the casket was thrown into the ocean, you were dealing with death, symbolism and elements, and all of those things. That is not a normal storyline. That is not something normal that you deal with. So how are you able to separate, but also still honor all of these parts that you had to fulfill?
It's a very good question, though. One that's very difficult to answer, because there's no particular process for me anyway, or one particular thing that one has to do to move in and out of these mental spaces, you know? It's a really, really tough question to answer Nthabiseng, because, like I say, what happened in that scene is that we came in, we shot the wide, I was in the mood, okay, let's go. After the wide, we cut and then they wanted to shoot a different scene with Zaz. So now I'm stuck now. I was stuck with these emotions now for several hours, because I'd already done the walk in, you know, on the wide shot.
Yeah.
There was a period of about 3 to 4 hours where now I'm just anxious about going back in, anxious about how it's going to play out. Like, I mean, I was in a state, you know what I mean? By the time I did have to come out, yes, we played the scene and it was beautiful. At the end of it all, like I said to you, for a good 32 minutes, I had one of the third aides, she followed me all the way to my dressing room, trying to comfort me, and I kept saying, I'm okay, because I was still in the headspace of where I was still emotional, I was still crying all the time, the makeup is heavy, the pad is dry, it's painful. So I mean, I went through it, I really, really, really did. But I mean, it's acting, when it's done, you know? It's on to the next one. Maybe those emotions are still in the reserves of my being, so maybe they'll pop up some other time. But
in the
you move on to the next show. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I could ask if you're okay. Are you good? It's been 2-3 years since then.
I am okay. I'm on a little bit of a break from work now. I think I'm done for the year. I just want to relax and I just want to get back to myself and just have a little bit more fun again, you know, and look forward to being creative again next year. But for now, this is the time when I debrief on all the stuff that I've done, just reflecting, watching, going back in time, checking if I'm okay. And I'm all right, you know. But right now, I'm not feeling inspired to be creative right now. But I mean, I'm enjoying just chilling and just finding that next big project.
And you also look good, by the way, so you must just know that.
Yeah, no, I'm looking after the skin, you know, trying to eat right, you know, trying to be healthy so that when that next gig comes, I'm good and ready.
Excellent. So you cross over to the other side, right? And then now we don't know what the other side is. There's this mermaid of sorts that takes you, and then you land to what? Is it Captain Ahadi? The very aged Captain Ahadi welcomes you to the land of the dead. Now it almost feels like it was a blink of an eye, right? Because at some point we don't know we didn't know when the crossover happened, and I guess, well, we don't know how it happens, but you were on the other side. So what is your like what is the thought process of General Toka in that moment in time? And I feel like it's just a nugget. We're gonna see more of that, but in that space, what is going on?
It's a really tough one because a lot of imagination has to take place there.
Yeah.
Because it's a world unknown, you know, and it's a world he's not expecting. I think when we die in the flesh here on earth, we have all kinds of questions about what happens in the afterlife. You know, in his mind, I don't know. He probably thinks he's still alive. You know. Because there's life in him, you know, because he pops up out of the water and there's a high sitting on a little canoe, you know what I mean? So he's breathing, he's living, but he's like, where am I? So I think there's confusion.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is one thing I love about BloodPsalms. Sometimes we establish things and then we park them, you know?
Yeah.
And then we throw through some kind of a through line. And like the same way that you didn't know that Uruti is Toka's daughter, we're still going to deal with that, mind you, in the afterlife. Deal with his whole life in the afterlife, but that's the beginning of it. I'm tentative to talk a lot about that particular world because that's the world we're going to go into now from episode 9 going forward, you know? Because he's gone in the flesh, but he lives in the other world, and you are going to get to see him because he's alive in that world, you know. But I think let's wait until episode 11. Maybe we can touch on that again. So much happens with him and Ahadi in that space, and with other elements that come into play, you know. But I want to give away the story too much. But at that point, he's confused, I guess, because he doesn't know if he's dead or alive. You know, the last time you checked, you were in the box, and he could feel. There was a moment when I watched that he can feel that now the box is not horizontal anymore.
Yeah.
That is actually, which means actually dipping into the ocean. So he would have felt the box get into the water coming in and engulfing him. And I think he would have imagined, okay, this is it, I'm dead, there's no way.
Yeah.
But then the mermaids, we'll deal with the mermaid and how he gets rescued from that and then moving forward.
Okay. Okay.
Without giving away.
Without giving away too much. So from viewer to viewer, in the scenes that you were not in, the episode is quite a larger than life episode. There are so many things happening. There's the dance that Uzazi is doing. There's Uma Dlamini plots for Zazi to escape. There's the Senate finally speaking to the king. And then there's the king cutting his tongue. When you sat back and watched this, because I know you had read the material, but when you watched this, what were you thinking?
Sure. I had forgotten about the cutting of the tongue.
Yeah.
We had shot it so like a couple of years ago that I actually forgot that there's a point where Lisa actually cuts out his tongue.
Yeah.
So that moment, every other moment was fine. I knew about Umina's plot with Madlamini and trying to get Zazi with Pirot and all of that. You know what I mean? And with Jabari also, I knew what he was about and what he was looking for. So everything else was fine. It is a larger than life episode. You're absolutely correct. But there were no surprises because I already knew the story. But the shock, and it really hit me because I actually didn't expect it. I had actually completely forgotten about it.
Yeah.
Well, it was the cutting of the tongue. It was an exhilarating moment. I mean, Mutusi, I don't know where he went when he prepped for this part or when he went within himself to be able to bring it out like that. But I think it's been exceptional. I mean, everybody's great. I'm loving Bokwe. I'm loving him. Zazi is a young, beautiful actress with so much potential. I mean, everything was just beautiful and it came together nicely. I thought Umna looked beautiful in that Nefertiti kind of dress.
Yes.
It was like a rather larger-than-life thing. Even Jabari sitting there watching as a larger-than-life character himself, it was quite spellbound by what was going on. So it was pretty good to watch.
Yeah, it was quite a lovely episode to see. And the shock, of course, at the end was insane. So now we're just going to talk about yourself as Zolisa, having worked with Ujamil, because you've worked with him on previous productions. How different was this one and your collaboration in working together to bring your character to life?
I think there's an old saying that if it ain't broken, don't fix it. You know, we have a vibe. We have an unspoken kind of understanding. We have a brotherhood. We have a genuine respect for each other's artistry. You know, we go way back, me and Jay, man. We come from the same people in Somerset East, you know?
Yeah.
Our families know each other. He knows both sides of my family, my mother's side, my father's side. There's an innate understanding and a very clear understanding of who the other person is personally and intuitively, you know? And because we've worked together in the past, we've worked hard at cultivating a relationship that is smooth, that is easy. We don't do a lot of talking on set, you know. We never have. It's a matter of asking a question or two here, or he'll make a suggestion or two. It's never a long discussion because the actual discussions that take place long before the project begins, you know. Like, for instance, when we did Sow the Winter to My Skin, we had spoken about it in 2016, 2015. I knew what that was about. It was like great story, whatever. He explained it with Rise. We had outings. We visited each other's houses. We would hang out and just always talk about it and what it is and what it ought to be, what the story means to us. Of course, reading then the script, I would then maybe, if I had question marks about anything, then highlight him and be like, okay, how are we going to play with that? How are we going to work around that? You know, so by the time we are on set, we're actually laughing and having a good time and just enjoying the day and enjoying the moment and enjoying possibly what we're about to do and think, oh, I wonder how it's going to come out.
Yes.
You know? There isn't too much of a discussion. We don't waste a lot of time talking about that stuff because all of the prep work is done prior to production.
Yes.
You know? So on production day, it's just a matter of just chilling, talking about football, talking about basketball, or whatever else might have happened the day before. But we all know why we're there and how things ought to play. I think we have an understanding, and he has a very great way of dealing with different actors in different ways. He knows how to make me tick, and he knows how to make everybody else tick. I wouldn't be surprised if, when I spoke to you about that scene, where they shot the wide and then I had to leave and come back, he probably did that on purpose.
Yeah.
like probably trying to get me to be in that space for a longer period of time, you know, and maybe create that kind of anxiety so that by the time I do come back to do the close-up shots, then I'm already in the space, I'm already annoyed and irritated, and I'm already feeling like, why is it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's little trickery that people do. I don't know if it might be nothing, but it might have been a trick, I don't know. But I mean, we have an understanding. And maybe he saw something that he felt he needed to do, but we never felt like we needed to talk about it.
Yes.
Because it's happening. It's just gonna happen, you know? So it's easy, it's fun, but most of the work is done prior to production, you know? And you always prepare when a Jamil said to throw the script out the door and actually do something that's completely different from what you thought you were going to do. So it's all a mental preparation thing and just understanding the character that you play and where you fit the context of the story. I think once you understand those elements, then it's just a fun process.
It sounds like two brothers coming together and coming to play, but play for a large world. I can't believe it. We are down to 1 minute 30 seconds. Literally, my timer is saying that we are done, and it felt like we talked for. It literally felt like we talked for 2 minutes. This was so amazing. This was so engaging. Thank you so much. I wish we could talk some more, but we are done. So thank you so much.
We'll find time to catch up. We'll catch up tonight at the premiere of You My Favorite.
Yes, of You My Favorite Place. Okay, we'll catch up there. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. You're absolutely incredible. I can't wait to put this out. Thank you, Zolisa.
Please send it the link. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, cheers. I definitely will send it.
All right.
Bye.
So, bye. Thank you.